All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to City and Community Development and Recreation Committee, our December 12th meeting. So to start us off, I just want to finalize some stuff for the student government. Mayor Nichols set up the date, and they are coming April 3rd.
They're here April 3rd?
Yes, they will be here April 3rd. So since we have the date finalized, I kind of wanted to finalize the legislation. So that way we can make sure we have enough readings and stuff before it happens and whatnot. And everybody is okay with the legislation that's being proposed. So I think I've gotten kind of a feel from everybody that a piece of legislation to honor and recognize the Carey sisters, to finalize a date to recognize the sisters would be an okay piece of legislation to propose. Anybody disagree or anything?
That's awesome.
Okay. So then just a date, like the date that we would want to honor them with. So I had it pulled up on my computer and then my computer froze. One of the Carey sisters was born April 26th, I think. Or I'm sorry, nope. I don't know. I'd have to pull it up again. Sometime around there. But March is Women's History Month, like in the United States of America. So if we wanted, we could, I know they're coming on April 3rd, but I mean, they could still honor a day in March anyway. We can have them do the day that they're coming, which is April 3rd, or I can just pull up the date really quickly. It went away from my computer, but I can just pull up the date. Let me just Google this really quick. Carey sisters. April 26th. So Alice Carey was born April 26th, so we could do April 26th, we could do April 3rd, or we could do a day in March. Those are my three ideas. Anybody have a day that they really like that they would want to pick to honor the Carey sisters?
Can you run down those dates for me one more time? I was
Yes.
figuring out something else.
So any day in March, because March is Women's History Month, so I figured that would be appropriate. April 3rd is when the student government's coming, so we could just have them dedicate that day as the Carey Sister Day. Or April 26th is the birthday of the oldest Carey sister, Alice.
Well, let me ask, what do you prefer? You did all the work.
I think having it declared before the day would be kind of nice, because then maybe we can do like a post or something about the day coming up or something like that. That's what I think would be nice.
Okay.
What do you guys think?
I have a question. I'm sorry. Who are the Carey sisters?
Their family was the Carey farm, Carey Cottage over in front of the Center for the Blind.
Right.
So they were the owners of that property. They got it through a grant through the government, then they bought the property. They were really low income growing up. They were one of the first families to ever live in the property that is North College Hill. They ended up, they didn't have any money to formally get a formal education. So they were all self-taught. They became two very famous poets. They were born in the 1800s, so I mean that was pretty crazy for women to become poets at the time. They were extremely involved in the feminist movement as well as the abolitionist movement. A lot of other amazing, great things that they did. Eventually they moved to New York because they had big dreams, I guess. But yeah, they started out in North College Hill, and they actually wrote a lot of poems about the community of North College Hill and about like the beauty of the farmland that it was and whatnot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, is there any other sister that would put us more in the March
No.
timeframe?
I was looking. So one was born April 26th and died February 12th. The other was born September 4th and died July 31st. They had 7 other sisters, but the 7 others were not famous poets and abolitionists and feminists, you know.
Those are the ones that are probably still ghosts at the Carey Cottage.
Right. There's still the ghosts there, and they're still trying to figure out their role in life.
Yeah.
So anybody have a huge preference towards the date?
I don't. Can I have another, kind of question though?
Yes, please.
Was your intent to have, like, the first 2 readings have, like, go through regular council, and then the 3rd reading would be when
night
the
that they
students
come?
were here, and then
Yes.
they would actually do the voting on it?
That's
Is
what
that-
I understood was kind of the expectation around it,
Okay.
yes.
So if I backdate that, that's what I was trying to figure out when you're doing all
Oh,
the other
smart.
dates. That's why I wasn't paying attention.
No, you're fine. That's
So
smart.
I think the first reading would have to be on March 6th, if that plays into that at all.
Okay. So, not to be cynical, but I'd like to get as much as we can figured out now, because I have a feeling it's going to be like a bit until we actually get the piece of legislation. It might be until March 6th. So whatever date, we can also change it in the readings. Do we just want to do April 26th as the day, and then if somebody comes up with a better day,
That
Right.
sounds like a beautiful plan to me.
I will reach out to Bill and have him start drafting that. I'll send him the research I've done about the women, sorry. And see if he can draft that legislation, so at least we have it at least started. So I think that'd be great. Okay, good. I like checking things off the list. Good job, everybody. All right, and I will hand it over now to Miss Clear. Go ahead. She's got some big updates for us.
Okay. Well. Look. All those stars, you know, just right on down. Okay. So, I'm going to attempt to do this and talk into the microphone, which might be challenging. So, as you know, I've been working on the website redesign project for a while, and I did receive the first pass of a potential redesign, recoloration, pictures, other things like that for the new website. I'm also working on content like under like the government area, services, all of that, to try to streamline some of the pages and get the information in a more organized fashion so that people visiting the website can more easily find what they need. One of the things that Mr. Mosby and I discussed was how to reorganize this first page that people come to when they land on our webpage. And I'm going to try to do this without an actual mouse, which is not my favorite. Okay, behave.
Here, you want to use mine?
Okay. I think, oh, thank you. It's not my favorite. I don't like all that maneuvering. Okay. So one of the first things back up at the top that you'll notice as soon as yay, okay. Much better, see? Okay. So right near the top here is our news and announcements. Basically, they're front and center, which means that if we happen to be having a slow news week, it looks outdated like the instant you turn on the page, because this event, the latest and greatest news that we have was like 2 weeks ago, which is fine if it's not like the first thing you see. So down further, we've got some what they call graphic buttons, just little quick buttons. Then we have the calendar. And then way down here, we've got just some footer information. And this is what it looks like on my computer and other computers when people look at this, the alignment and everything. So we're fixing that. So again, said Mr. Mosby and I discussed where do we want to put first, second, and third, what kinds of graphics do we want? Do we want them to carousel? All that kind of stuff we discussed. So there shouldn't be a complete surprise, even though he has not actually seen this either. I thought it would be a nice reveal. So over here is the first pass of the rendering of the new website, first page. It's got your greens that you wanted, and the blues and the greens. That's my street. I actually stood out in the middle of the street and took a picture. That way I wouldn't have to worry about anybody like, wait, you can't take a picture. Yeah, that's my street.
Everybody had the grass cut real nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, this was back in, I think, late September, early October. So, yeah, so so that's what my street looks like. I love it. I love North Carolina too.
We do too. We love our streets.
So this is actually Rob Verne, if anybody is curious and wants to know. Yeah, way down over by the golf course. So we're working on logo. That is not a final version, but that is probably close to what we had talked about. You notice that when I hover over this.
Excuse me one moment.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Margie, could you flip that light switch behind you, just to see if it makes it? Oh, big difference.
Much better.
Thank you.
Okay. So I know we had talked about blues and greens versus orange and other orange for the colors. So because that seems to be more trendy colors that are more, you see more often out, and Arias was very helpful in helping us determine like where to go as far as colors. So we have the darker blue, and then we have a light blue that you see that kind of when you hover. And I had to tell them like all these colors and color codes. But you notice there's no menus. This is just an interactive JPEG, is what they call it. So the links, some of the links are live, some of them aren't. But you see there's like these little helper links up here too. And then
Helper links or hyperlinks?
helper, I call them helper. They actually have the terms that they use for all this stuff, but I don't bother memorizing it because I'm not going to need to know it again after next month.
Right.
So, and then down here are the green, and again, it has the color change. I'm not sure I'm a fan of these fonts, but as of right now, this is our first pass, and I have, I think we set the first week of January after the holidays for me to get the next set of revisions to them. So the fonts, any color tweaking that I might want to do, header information, anything like that.
Is there plans for the new logo?
Yes, once we get it. This, like I said, is just something that, I threw together to have something that wasn't orange on the website, just so it was new and it's clean. It just says our city and all of that. But I don't know if we want to engage an actual graphic artist. That's not my forte. Yeah, I just put that one up there just so we would have something that was new. We can change that. That's an image file. So, so down here are some more like quick links, and I gleaned what I could tell from the biggest pain points that people tell me they can't find on the website. And so that's where these came from. And then down here is news and announcements. So you notice that it's not as big of a deal if this is outdated, if it's not the first thing you see. This is just recent stuff that's happened in the city. I did ask them to give me a form factor that will standardize the size of the images so that they look the same, because I think that looks not good right now. So they will give me, I said, I can be disciplined enough to resize these pictures, but I'm not the only one who's going to be using this tool. So they're going to give me a standard form factor for the size of these pictures so that it looks the same when you look across it. And then down here, this is new. This is not something we've had. So this is where I would put fire department, police department, things like that, public works, just departmental, shortcut links. And then down here is a little different. It looks kind of similar, but you can toggle between meetings and events. And this is not live right now, so it won't let me toggle. But anyway, so the color scheme, again, aligns with what we've discussed going forward for new official colors for things like this. Then down at the bottom, I'm still working on what do we want to put here that makes sense. One of the other websites I looked at had like frequently dialed numbers, and they had like the department numbers at the bottom, which might be an idea. But we can figure that out. That's flexible. This is actually something I can control from my desk. I don't have to call them to change that. So
Yes.
I'm less concerned with what we put here because that's flexible. Okay? Any questions so far?
Yeah, where were you, I'm having a hard time reading that because, I'm old.
Mhm.
So where do you put, like, there's a spot on our website where you can,
She's showing it.
where you, like, if you have a problem with your neighbors, parking their car.
Okay, and that would be report a
Is that called?
concern,
Thank you.
and that is right here in the middle.
Okay,
That's where that would be.
thank you.
Yeah. And again, I don't like the fonts. I might have them capitalized just so they're easier to
Yeah,
see and
Can
read.
you
I
read
can't
all
read-
those
I
5 for
can't
me?
read
I'm
any of
sorry.
that.
Let me see if I can make it bigger.
Thank you.
I'll try.
Sorry.
Standard size. I mean, I don't, aesthetically, I think it's nice. I agree that the middle hyperlinks need to be the same size.
Yeah.
And I like the color changes when you scroll across them. That's nice.
Yep.
Would
And-
you
and
mind?
We can
Sorry.
control this banner image. We can have it automatically scroll, or we can just change it seasonally if we want. So that's
Can
another
you
thing.
Would
read-
you incorporate any of these photos?
If
or
I
what?
knew where to find that source artwork, I would be happy to, but I don't know where that artwork lives.
I mean, we paid money. We paid this artist
Yeah.
for these.
If
Right.
anybody knows where those image files are, I'd be more than happy to use them.
Yeah, she had asked me about that before, but I don't have any of those files.
Yeah, we have dug and dug and dug through all those shared server files. We can't find them. They're probably on whoever's laptop it was that organized that project. Is probably where they are.
You probably already asked the Historical Society and stuff too.
For these pictures,
Yeah.
I have not.
Well, I wonder if they would
They-
have them. They want it? Okay. I have,
But-
can
but
you,
even if they have any historical pictures, maybe we
Right.
rotate
Yeah.
some historical pictures through.
And-
I mean,
and-
no, you're fine.
and-
Our city has a lot of history. I'd love to include that.
So I'm glad you mentioned history, but I don't want to, I don't want to digress too far because I think someone else had a question.
I did. So would you go back to can you just read those 5 there? I just can't read them in the
These,
middle.
notify me, find a form, report a concern, public meetings, and employment.
That looks great. I like those 5 there.
What'd you say the last one was? Employment?
Employment. Because I know that not only administration and public works, the fire department, police
Oh, yeah.
department, they have people have openings all the time, yeah.
That wasn't
Yep. Oh, okay.
questioning the content. It was questioning.
No, we love
word.
the
I couldn't hear
content.
it.
We promise. No, I think that looks great. I have a so sorry. You were mentioning a meeting where like colors were discussed. Was that?
I don't think it was a meeting. It was,
Oh, okay.
it was more like,
in like a conversation.
yeah, I don't even know, yeah.
Okay.
Was that a meeting? I wasn't sure if that was a meeting.
Before you got on this
Yeah.
project, we had settled on those colors.
Just for the viewers at home, they were saying it was a prior meeting before this project began.
Yeah, I was not privy to any of those discussions. Like I said, she just provided me with
Right.
the general vision of what they wanted for colors.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that looks great. I appreciate you showing us that.
Yeah, this looks wonderful. How did you get so lucky to take this project on?
This is my 3rd website redesign.
Oh, okay. So it's your hobby. This is
Yeah, so you saying you don't have to do this again after this month. You might be wrong there.
Yeah, I won't have to do this website again after January.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. So back, I wanted to touch back, and this, I don't want to suck up too much time here, but somebody mentioned history. And I think, and again, I'm going to restructure where these things are found. Under About Us, this is our old page, and there is a history section. And I did actually talk to Linda and the Historical Society. So they have their own page now.
Okay.
So she gave me all of this information for their page. And then if I go backwards on my breadcrumbs here, history, so there's early settlement. And I kind of split this up because I think in the original page it was like all one big glut of information that was really kind of hard to find. but I think the notable citizens is my favorite part. But I said
The
notable.
what? I'm sorry.
I said notable because
Oh, notable.
not all of their stories are like, yay! Some of them are like,
Yes.
oh my god. So, but anyway, I hope to build this out. I have, several months ago, I met with Mrs. Shaper, and I got their whole personal history with the city. I'm going to add, a section for a page for Jerry Shaper. Any of those kinds of people who have had a really big impact on our community throughout the years, I want to have them have their own spot here so that it doesn't get lost.
So Erica, if you want to learn more about the Carries, right on that page there.
Carey family.
Right.
There you go.
And again, I didn't do any of this research. This is mostly just kind of repackaging what was there already. Except for Rabbi Wise, I did update as I learned more as we went through the park renovation project. There was a lot of information that came out of that.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
on this, are you gonna give this the fresh look that the first?
Yes.
Okay. And then, did you, I don't know, I don't remember how far we talked, but did you, have room for that, like, kind of like a thrift store online where, residents exchange with one another?
Oh, I have not gotten that far. I'm mostly just kind of cleaning up our current content right now. And the way this will work is they, at the Civic Plus end of things, will push this design CSS to our existing site as is. So all of this here will have the exact same content and pictures. It'll just have this color scheme and these buttons and all of that once they push that over to our existing spot.
And where would the newsletter go?
That can go.
So
I have
the-
to think
sorry.
about that. So we have to, yeah, we can talk about where things would go. Because there's a lot of things that really just need to be kind of reorganized. So,
So hold on, let me just say what her questions were. Her questions were about a secondhand exchange, possibly going on the website. They'll get to that after the final stuff is done with the formatting, and then another question about where the newsletter would go, and that will also be taken care of later.
Ms. Zorb's been patiently waiting to ask her question here.
I'm usually not that patient, so thank you. And now I have two things. So where would, like, ordinances and minutes and agendas and stuff like that go?
I will log into my draft version here in just a moment, but, because I actually have started working on that.
And then when you had that, the historical stuff, is there, I am reaching for the stars here. When someone would click on, say, the Cary Cottage, could that image of Cary Cottage pop up? Or the Isaac M. Wise Park, could an image of the park show up? Like, could there be an image that just,
I put it on the actual page, so if they click Carey Family page, it's there.
perfect? Is there one for all the, because like Shaper
If I
Park,
had an
there's-
image to put, because I think websites are a heck of a lot more interesting if there's pictures on them.
Heck yeah.
I don't have a lot of pictures on this one yet, but like all the renovation project is detailed. This will take you to the city parks page.
Oh, that's great.
Where all of the parks currently are. This is the live site right now. The orange and brown is the live site. So this was one of the first pages I did like 5 minutes after I started working here. 'Cause I'm like, so, I want to go just, give me just 1 second here, and I'm going to, whoops, I don't want to create an account. I already have an account. All right. I know, I'm not supposed to say passwords, but I end up typing them 150 times a day if I don't. So while that's logging me in, some of, like, the public meetings, this is the old ordinances and resolutions to address the earlier point. This is where they are right now, just under the government page. So they're right here, under this list of subpages. So you kind of have to dig for them a little bit, but they're there.
No, I'm asking where they would be on the new page.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I knew where they were on the old page.
Okay, so let's turn live edit on because it'll look, now I'm going to make this page look really ugly. Okay, so now,
It's on the like blue and green one.
Yes.
the blue and green one, what?
Like where would it be in this website here? Would it still be
Oh.
under government and then under,
This is just strictly aesthetics.
okay. So it
What
would
I'm,
still
what
be in
I'm
the same
trying to
spot.
say is that it's going to be our content and our menus and where you find specific pages is going to be different once I get everything kind of reorganized. So it might be living under government right now, and it probably will be, to be honest with you, in the next, does that make sense? But I did want to, now I'm sorry I'm flipping around too much here. But, so this is how this behaves when I'm trying to do something constructive in a hurry. Okay. So you see this is draft 2022. This is not live. This is my staging area where I'm working on new content and new pages. So about our government administration, public meetings, city council, and ordinances or resolutions will be here once I get that restructured. Does that make sense?
And then like, well, committee meeting minutes and agendas go in there as well.
Yes.
So with that, actually, I'm going to freeze what I'm saying because I feel like it'd be more appropriate for rules and public policy. I know we've been trying to get kind of a structure of how and where and who is going to put
So
on
that,
the
I'll ask my
committee.
question then. Will
Yeah.
the file structure still be the same for the agendas?
Yeah, I can't, that is set in the system itself. How the
Okay.
how the folders are all named and all that stuff, that's up to whoever established that in the first place.
Perfect.
I'm just going to move it from 32nd Street over to 4th Street.
Got it.
So we have fewer streets. I lost my train of thought. Ooh, oh, here, Ron, this is what our meeting's going to be about tomorrow. Preview of coming attractions. So there will be a new business section that we do not currently have. And Chamber of Commerce is excited, any of these things. If you want to do business in North College Hill, there'll be a one-stop shop where you go. And Ron,
Wow.
I'm going to be working with Ron on getting that streamlined and organized this week. So.
You are amazing. Thank you.
So I did want to show you one more quick thing, if it will cooperate with me. So the interior page form factor is also going to be different. So you notice there's a lot of just blankness on this page. It's kind of boring. Our new interior page will be like containers.
Oh.
So we can control the image that is in the background, and that's what an interior page would look like. I'm going to change these colors because I don't like the burgundy in the middle there. But so the feature column can have like just contact information for the department, quick links, FAQs, that kind of thing. But yeah, so this is what an interior page, aesthetically how that would look. Okay? If you have any questions or anything, feel free to let me know. I actually have, they gave me PDF or JPEG files that are the flat files. They're not interactive. That if you want to see them and look at them, I'm okay. Just to let me know. But this isn't going to be the final, just so you know. I am going to fix some of the fonts and things so they're easier to read and that sort of thing. Because I didn't know what it was going to look like until they sent me this. So. All right. Any questions about the website?
Awesome.
Okay. I need to give you your mouse back before I forget. I'm going to switch gears real quick. Probably could have stayed up there to talk about this. So I think, I don't know if I'm on over here. Am I? Yes, okay. Am I on still sponsorships?
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to give you guys a couple of good news, quick updates. I have already started soliciting sponsorships for next year. And I'm working on a brochure or booklet, if you will, that could be made available to potential sponsors that talks about all the sponsorship opportunities that we have, demographics about our city because they want to know that, usually when they're thinking about sponsoring festivals, volunteer opportunities, things like that. So that's very marked up version. I am not going to show you this one. But that is in process as well. And now Ron knows about this. I met with Chase Bank on Friday last week, Thursday or Friday. And they're very excited about one of the events that we have proposed for next year, which is a Juneteenth Jam Music Festival. I know they did Juneteenth last year with a cookout. She loves the idea of main stage live music, which is what we really want to do next summer for that event. They're very excited about working with us on that. And then also, I'm going to offer a new opportunity next year to just called just a blanket community partnership sponsorship, where for a flat annual rate, and you can pay me quarterly or whenever, I don't care, whatever's easiest for you, we will you will be recognized as a community partner. So for recreation. And so on promotional materials for like the festival, if there's a booth, if there's booths offered, they can get a free booth. They can get reserved parking, so just things like that, but they would be designated as a community partner. And then there's only one piece of paper that we all have to worry about, and it's basically for whatever recreational needs, programmatic needs, anything that recreation would need to use. It's a slightly less restricted than an event-specific contribution, which really should only be spent on that event. So this allows us to have a little bit more flexibility with that funding when it comes in. And she was interested in that one as well, up at Chase. Second thing I just heard today from Huntington is I was asking them would we be eligible perhaps to work together on upgrading Stapleton Park? And they said, let's talk. So I will be getting that organized as well. So wow.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
So as far as being able to forecast my revenue for next year, I really don't know.
Yeah.
We trust you. You're great.
But I really couldn't have done this, without having been here for a while in order to learn the process and learn the ropes and learn a lot from, Mr. Mosby about what goes on behind the scenes. And so now I'm in a better place now, and I feel more confident with what I can actually offer sponsors that would be okay to offer sponsors as far as, incentives, if you will. So I don't like to use that word because you shouldn't use that word in government, but, but it's, we're not, it doesn't involve any legislation, so I think it's okay. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys an update on that. I think that would be helpful as we move into budget
Great.
cycle next
Sounds
meeting.
great.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Cleardall? No? Okay. All right. I won't forget you this time, Ms. Orb. Any updates for Tree?
It figures I have no updates.
The one time.
I know.
It's okay. I was ill last week, so I wasn't here to say great job to you guys for the Christmas tree decorations. Good job to your committee. So thank you guys for providing those. Those were great. I'm sure the birds love them too. All right. Comprehensive plan update. Anything specific?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Of course, the team presented to you all. I'm going to be meeting with them this week to kind of go over the next stages. So
Okay.
that's where we are right now.
All right. So just waiting to hear on the next stages. Got it. Thank you. Any economic development either? I'm guessing kind of the same. I know they're one.
No, I mean, I've been meeting with Mr. Lizniansky, and we actually have a couple of projects that we're working on now. So which is a good thing.
Awesome.
So.
Anything we can know about?
It's too early at this
Okay.
particular time to
I
discuss.
understand.
But
Well, thank you for the update anyway. I appreciate it. All right. Any senior center property update? I know we passed the legislation to possibly acquire it. Any updates on that?
yeah, so we're at the stage now where we just have to get the deed transferred. So that part is being done by our law director. So that's where it is right now. I know he's out of town this week, so we should hopefully be able to have that finalized next week.
Great. Thank you. All right. Oh my gosh. I feel like this has been in our agenda for ages and ages and ages and ages, and we just haven't had time to get to it. All right. So the money from the renter's registration fee. So since we are looking at the agenda for next year, this money is currently in the 2023 agenda going into the general fund. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Last time we got a number, it was like, I honestly couldn't even tell you, it was so long ago, of how much money comes out of the renter's registration fee.
It's in this budget document that we just got.
It is, okay. Can I see that? So renter's registration fee for 2023 proposed was about 73,000. Okay. So thank you. Our last ideas were capital depreciation. So to put it aside to take care of capital depreciation, things that are, need to be taken care of that we just don't have the funds for because they haven't been put aside. So we could put that aside for that. Additional city development and recreation funds. Save for a large project or somehow find a way to continue the homeowner's assistance. So the reason that we kind of were discussing the first three options, which are listed there, are because they could possibly still work towards the goal of having renters become longtime homeowners without directly giving them money to do that or without directly giving them assistance to do that. So it could still better our community, which would then entice people to buy here or entice people to become long-term homeowners instead of renters here. So those were kind of our ideas for those three. And then continuing homeowners assistance, we didn't really have much around there because there's not much we can do as a government.
Madam Chair,
Please.
dawned on me, I think we discussed this before, not essentially giving someone money, but offering some classes to people who could be
Yes.
potential
So that goes
free courses for them.
right. So that
that-
goes along with the additional
Homeownership.
city community development recreation funds because that would then. I remember this was a long time ago. I'm very sorry, but that kind of went along with that one. So if we were to provide more money into city development / recreation, then that money could therefore be spent on things like providing classes, providing events, stuff even like the second-hand swap that could help out people who are low income, who are, trying to scrape up to buy a house. You have a second-hand swap that is sponsored by the city or that is brought to you by the city. I mean, you're going to need money for that at least a little bit. So any other ideas, anything anybody really likes?
I like the first two,
I do too.
because you said we couldn't do the D, right?
No, not in any of the ways that we've come up with.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we could,
That would have been my first vote, but
Right.
since we can't do that, I would lean towards the first two. Capital depreciation and additional city development recreation funds.
and I mean,
That's
this is,
fine.
yeah, and this is the time to figure it out since we haven't passed the 2023 budget yet. Okay, so we have a person in favor for the first two. Anybody have any ideas or preferences?
I'm in agreement with the first two.
And we can even, split it. Say, hey, we want this much of this to go to this, we want much of this, blah, blah, blah. I think, so currently we do not have money set aside in the 2023 proposed budget for capital depreciation, correct?
I am not quite sure how that is defined, but we do have money set aside or budgeted for the payback of certain loans that were used for capital improvement, and then we also have we're budgeting money for certain smaller projects right now.
Okay. So do we have, correct me if I'm wrong, the way that I thought of the capital depreciation was almost like a rainy day fund, or am I totally wrong? Like if something like a building, we need a new air conditioner, capital depreciation, that could be set aside in that sort of way. Am I wrong about that?
So I guess I'll go along with Ron, and maybe I had the wrong definition too. I kind of, in my mind, changed out depreciation for improvements. So like capital improvements to, for instance, the air conditioner that we need for this building, for, I don't know, if the fire department needs a new garage door. I
Right,
don't
that's
know,
how I
that
thought
kind of
about
stuff.
it too. Is that kind of what, sorry, I saw.
So
that
maybe
was
if we
clear.
change the verbiage on your description.
Okay. Well, what were you thinking? Ms.
Yeah, I
Cook?
was about to suggest what Ms. Dewald just
Oh,
said.
perfect.
Just, I think it's an issue of terminology, if we could make that a little less confusing, so it's more clear to our future selves what that bucket is for.
Yeah.
So it's like capital replacement or improvement. Because I know that certain things only have a useful life of so long, and if we know that we bought this garage door and it's got a 15-year warranty, then in 15 years, we better be planning to replace it if it breaks.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of where my head was at with that. That's what I was thinking it was for, too. I think it's just an issue of labeling.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, please.
would the capital improvements also go under if we needed any type of improvements in our new senior center? Would that also be included?
It could, yes.
Yeah, that's what I
Because it
was
would be
gonna
part of our, that's real property, and
Right.
permanent property, so yes.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, that
That's
might even
good.
be smart to make sure it's
Good.
set aside for that. And I mean, that could also, I mean, additional community recreation funds. I mean, it could also be put towards the senior center as well. So currently, right now, what do you have the 73,000 going towards in the general fund? I know that, I understand that the general fund is just like a pot, but you have 73,000 funneled out to places. So where would it then be taken back from in your proposed budget?
Well, I mean, we don't have it, as you pointed out, we don't have, say,
Right.
10,000 of the 73 going to a particular
Right,
place or anything
exactly.
like that, right? So part of it is going to, I mean, to be, I think to try to clear that up though, part of that goes to offset, of course, the salaries of our building inspections officer, the expenses that are incurred for the collection of the rental registration fees. For example, we just had to purchase, over 1,000 stamps so we could send the letters out, that kind of thing.
Right.
So some of that is used to offset those expenses, and then the money that you said that was there is the money that would be set aside for
This.
however you wanted to,
Okay.
use that.
Okay. So here's what my idea is. We split it 50-50. Go ahead, please.
Can I ask a more clarifying question?
Please, yeah.
Mr. Mosby, would you be able to come up with a percentage that is actually needed for the expenses and postage and stuff like that? Is there?
Well, I think Ms. Vanderberg is here. She might be able to do that before.
Shed some light.
Okay.
She could, yeah. I mean, in essence, kind of look briefly at what the expenses were for buildings and inspections, and then give a projection.
Okay. So I'm going to put a pin in this and go down to the firework legislation while we give Ms. Vanderberg some time. Is that okay? Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So while we're waiting for Ms. Vanderberg, just wave your hand whenever you guys are ready. We're going to go down the firework legislation. So I've been talking with Brian Fells, obviously our fire chief, about fireworks, obviously. A little bit with Chief Tran, and I've been trying to talk with Bill Dieters. But it's been a little confusing because one person was waiting for one thing, another was waiting for another. So this is our last update on what we know is going on with the firework legislation, is the email that I included. So this is kind of what I already knew, and I just hadn't communicated it to you guys because it wasn't really pertinent. So basically, what the understanding is, as long as we do not have a additional law in our books that overrides the ordinances about fireworks, then we're good. My understanding was we did have a piece of legislation that overrided what they were putting into the ordinances. So my understanding was that that needed to be repealed, but for some reason, I don't know if that piece of legislation got overlooked or what. So I called and left a message for Mr. Dieters, like Mr. Mosby said, he's out of town, so hopefully he'll maybe watch this video, fingers crossed, and maybe listen to my message and we can get that taken care of. From my understanding, there's a piece of legislation on the books that overrides the ordinance that Chief Ellis is talking about in here. So until I can get a piece of legislation either repealing that or a clarification from Bill Dieters that we do not have legislation on the books overriding it, there's nothing we can really do, because my understanding was that there was. Any questions on that? Yeah, please.
So if there's legislation, wouldn't it be back there?
Yeah, and I have a copy of a piece of legislation that I understood that we had. I don't know if you remember, it was like 6 months ago when we first brought this up.
We were at the blind.
Yeah, we were at the Clover Nook Center for the Blind, and I printed out our current legislation and then the new Ohio law. And our current legislation was much stricter than the new Ohio law. And I passed them out, and we had a very long discussion about them. But for some reason, I don't know if Bill doesn't know that we have that, if he doesn't remember, if he whatever. But so the confusion on Bill's side was, I don't think he knew or knows or whatever that we had that piece of legislation, so he wasn't aware that there was one to repeal. So Brian and I were sitting there talking about this piece of legislation that he didn't know existed, so that's where all of this confusion came from.
How did it get backwards? We talked about this at the Center for the Blind, and
Yep.
they came forward and they said,
Yep.
although there's this legislation, we want to move forward. We want to go with the Ohio piece of legislation because we don't want, it's just not that big. They talked about the calls that they
Right.
respond to
Yep.
and the timeliness and the importance. Now,
Yep.
how are we all the way back at
Yep.
another layer of legislation that is going to bind our fire department and our police
Yep.
department to the things that we already agreed to move past?
I completely agree. Yeah, the legislation was, so the issue is the legislation was already on the books from a long, long time ago. And the whole point of that meeting was to discuss, do we want to repeal our legislation and go with the ordinances, or do we want to continue with our piece of legislation? And we had all agreed, let's put forth a piece of legislation to repeal our current stricter legislation. And that's what I asked for, but then I never got it. And then this is the explanation of why I never got it. But I'm so frustrated because I never got it. So I called Bill, left a message. I mean, I am a 23-year-old, almost 24-year-old, second grade math and science teacher. I cannot write legislation. That is not my place. I can't do it. So I don't know what to do. I'm just waiting.
So we're waiting on legislation to go along with the Ohio legislation?
Yes, to repeal our piece of legislation that contradicts the Ohio piece of legislation. I'm just waiting. Been waiting. Really getting sick of waiting, but we'll keep waiting. But yeah, so this was I just wanted to show you guys, this is the email where Brian's basically saying, we're good to go. We just have to get rid of our current piece of legislation. So,
Madam Chair,
please.
I have sorry.
You're okay.
Now that I can't really hear if you're not talking into the microphone. So, have you sent emails requesting that legislation?
Yes.
How many?
So yes, I did. So that was originally when we discussed this, I had asked for that. And then that's when I got the response back that Bill wanted Brian to look into the codified ordinances about it. Brian looked into the codified ordinance about it. He went back to Bill, gave this to Bill, and then since then, about once, twice a month, I've been asking for the piece of legislation, and I haven't heard back from Bill about it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I've been trying. The public records are there. But yeah, so I mean, there's nothing we can do about it until unless somebody wants to take a law writing class. Anybody? Erica? You got any free time? You want to write some legislation for me?
And that's the problem, like free time.
What is that?
Yeah.
But,
All right. So
I'm sure I could do it, you know.
I wish I could do it.
Well, we could,
Fortunately, I cannot.
sure we can,
Okay.
sure we
So
can get it figured out.
I still don't see, sorry, I shouldn't say I still don't see. I do not see Ms. Vanderberg in here, so I'm guessing she's looking at some stuff back there. So just to jump back then to the renters registration, is anybody opposed? My idea would be split it 50-50. Put half into whatever is set aside, half into the capital improvement or replacement fund, and then the other half can go to additional city development and recreation funds. I think that I see some head nods.
Madam Chair, can it be flexible as needed? Maybe one of these areas requires more funds, but I guess they can move it around, but I didn't know if it could stay where it is and then just, they would be connected to each other and then they could flex.
So
depending on how we need it, but maybe that's not a
Madam Chair.
proper accounting procedure.
Yeah, I don't think that's how it could be done. I mean, cleanup ordinances can always help us out at the end of the year if anything needs to be put somewhere else or spent somewhere else.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Can I-
please.
So this is actually a good question that will segue, I think, into the next committee meeting. But that is the one thing about the budget that is to council's advantage, because obviously council has a privilege to adjust the budget at any time during the year. So if council chose to change the distribution to say, 50-50 to 75-25, council has the prerogative to do that. So,
One might need more than the other.
correct.
Thank you.
But there's the point that it could already be spent by the time we
Right.
wanted to
By
do
the time
it.
we get that far, yeah.
There's the potential that it could already be spent. Like, let's say
We
in
get some-
October, we
yeah.
hear that the air conditioner is out and we want to spend money on that as a capital improvement, but maybe if all of the money was in one bucket, maybe it was already all spent on recreation funds, and then it wouldn't be there for that.
Right.
And I guess my other point to ask is, were you planning on creating, I'm going to say
new
the ugly
line
word, no,
Oh,
legislation,
I knew.
legislation that would mandate where this money goes?
yeah. That's what the plan was. That's what the original piece of legislation was, which we need to repeal. The original piece of legislation for the renter's registration fee states that it will go to a homeowner's assistance or homeowners buying whatever.
And that already passed?
That passed before I was on, or when I newly joined council. I think it was the first couple pieces of legislation I passed back in 2020. That was when Amber Bailey was in charge of this project.
So that makes it sound like that money is already safe. It can't be used for anything else right now.
Yes, yes. Other than
Locked in.
the administrative stuff that Ron was talking about, exactly.
Is that in the original legislation?
That it would be set like administrative stuff?
Mhm.
I don't think so.
Then it's not.
That it's not. I can forward you guys. I still have that piece of legislation. Just give me a second and I will find it and I'll forward it to you guys. In the meantime, while I'm searching for this, does anybody have any old business or new business? We're just cutting close to budget and finance. No? Okay. So for next meeting, I will, okay. I have quite the to-do list. Okay, so I need to reach out to Bill about a few things. First is the student government legislation for the Carey sisters.
Was there only going to be one
What do you mean?
piece of legislation for the students?
From my understanding.
Okay.
There were, so, Mayor Nichols showed me the previous legislation that they would pass for nights like this, and to me, it felt frivolous. It was like National Blindmen's Week is October 22nd. It's like, well, nope, what? Like, it just seemed very frivolous. It seemed like something that was never looked at again, something that was never cared about. And I want to make sure that these people who are going to be here for the student government I think they should be doing something important. So that's my idea around it.
Can I tag along to that real quick?
Please.
Ms. Clear, since you're still here. When something like this gets passed, could that be added to the calendar to say, like, as an ongoing calendar, that April 26th is Alice Carey's birthday, whatever the legislation is going to say, and it's North College Hills Alice Carey Day.
Like a local holiday kind of a thing. Yeah, we can do that.
And
I think-
it
I
would
think
be
I'm allowed-
permanent, that would be,
Yeah, well, I'd have to, well, it's manual.
perpetual?
But I could set up the event or holiday, if you will, on the calendar and just tell it to repeat on this date for the next 30 instances, or something like that. There's a limit to how far ahead I can schedule. And that's just because it's a database and it has to stop somewhere. But, yeah,
Sure.
I can do that.
thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
the students will need at least 3 pieces of legislation, and the calendar should go through Mayor first.
I'm sorry, one more time, I'm sorry. They'll need at least 3 pieces of legislation, and what else?
And the calendar should go through administration and Mayor first.
Well, if
What
it's
calendar?
declared a local holiday via legislation, then that would need additional approval to go on the calendar, or?
Wait,
I'm
I'm confused. What do you mean the calendar?
The date that she talked about being put on the calendar as an ongoing date.
No, it wouldn't be an ongoing date for the student government to come. It would be an ongoing date for like the national holiday that would be passed.
Or the celebration of the Carey sisters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't clear, I guess.
Yeah, it'd be like a local observance that we just
Yeah.
have on the calendar every
Correct.
year.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
But
so
whenever-
it's not
it-
just a
it
piece
still
of
has to be
paper that
passed.
goes in the file cabinet, it actually would
Yeah.
hold a place.
Okay, I just found the document. Okay, sorry, I'm forwarding it to you guys. Okay, so got to talk to Bill about the Carey Sisters legislation for student government. And then what do you mean we need 3 pieces of legislation for them to pass?
I guess the different phases, Mayor actually texted me that. She said
Yeah,
that-
I was going to say, where'd you get this information? Because I'm not familiar with, we have to have 3 pieces of legislation for the students to look at.
I hadn't been told that either. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna move past that as I'm not sure about what. Okay. All right.
think-
Then the next thing.
Chair,
Yes.
I can look into past student councils and
Thank you.
see.
I appreciate that. Okay. We also. Okay, so sorry, Ms. Clear, you don't need anything from us for the sponsorships or for the websites. Just making sure. Okay, and then we need to update or repeal the homeowners assistance fund. And then the firework legislation. Anything else? No? All right. We will go ahead and adjourn then at 7:33. Do we want to start the next meeting at 7:35? What are you thinking, Ms. Stukesine?
Sorry, I'm trying to capture the last thing.
You're
she
totally
said.
fine.
Okay, the homeowners assistance fund, and you said one other thing.
I'll also talk to Mr. Dieters about the the firework legislation and the homeowners assistance fund. Anything else? Do we want to start the next meeting at 7:40? What are we thinking?
Yes, 7:40.
All right, well, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Follow-up, and that is the email that Ms. Zorb sent out to everyone, kind of talking through, council through some of like, her concerns with the, budget. And we were supposed to address those in the last meeting that we ended up not being able to have because attendance, people just couldn't make it. So, and I also sent you all out the minutes, from that meeting, or the meeting that we had in place of Miss Underwood's 2 meetings. I'm sorry, we didn't have them in place. She yielded over her time to us so that we could talk about the budget. I am missing the minutes from the previous last month's, November's budget and finance. I have not finalized those, and I will have those for us.
So that's probably on me. Can we talk after this meeting and I'll make sure I have all the minutes sent to you that I've taken?
I do not think it's on you. Remember,
Oh.
you couldn't take them, and I took them myself.
You're right. Okay,
Yep.
sorry.
It's on me.
No worries. Sorry if I ever miss something.
Life
no.
gets in the way.
Yep. So, the first, I sent you all the just kind of the list of questions or just concerns that she had. And so I just want to go through the list and address them all so that we can kind of go forward. We will not accomplish getting through the budget, so we will have to schedule. So we will just spend the time that we need to spend on the things that needed, and when it's time to move on, we'll have to move on, because there's no reason in trying to like be here until 11 p.m. because it's not going to get done today anyways. She talked about the more that she evaluated the present document, she had more questions, and that the budget documentation does not include the revenue information. And so that is the first thing. I just wanted to make sure that you know that the last budget that we received from Kirsten, Mrs. Vanderbilt, that we actually did have revenue. They were hidden in the cells. So I believe when she sent it out the second time that they were unhidden, and we are able to see the revenue on that document.
The only revenue I saw was on a whole different sheet. Is that the?
Yes, when they were, because if you will remember, we had the printed out document. We did not have the digital document.
Right.
And she hid them to make room so that we could focus on what she thought would be important for the meeting. But they were there. They're there in every document that's been sent, or the revision of the document, or the update of the document. So this time I sent it out. They're very visible, and you can, when you print it out, in order for it to fit on the sheet, the revenue, you couldn't see it, but it actually is present on the digital document. You may not even, can you see it on your documents today? Did you reprint it out, the new one?
I did reprint it out, and maybe we're not saying the same thing. So I printed out the sheets, and I printed out landscape, and I still don't see, are you saying that the revenue should be incorporated in this same document? Mm-hmm. Because the only place I found revenue was on a different sheet down on the bottom, a different tab on the bottom.
A tab on the
printed
bottom of
this.
the same document? Was it in the same document?
Yes, but it doesn't come out on this sheet.
That's the same. It's just, it's too much to print out multiple tabs.
I just want to make sure you and I are saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I should not see it on this document.
Oh, no, it should be in the,
A separate sheet in Excel terminology, it's a separate sheet.
yep, a separate
Okay.
sheet,
Thank you.
tab. Yeah. So, just to make sure that you're feeling satisfied of getting the information that you wanted, the revenue is there, and everyone else needs to know that if you just click further, the revenue is there. She did did you pull that out? Because I remember you saying you hid them.
It should be on the very top line in pink.
So the only budget revenue attached to that is what we have printed off. There's no, I don't see anything in pink.
It actually turns out in red in my sheet. It's
Let me look again.
this, Ms. Ewald, can you see what I'm looking at here?
Okay, I see what you're looking at now, thanks.
And mine are actually still condensed. You have to actually click on the columns and unhide them.
Unopen, yeah,
Yeah.
open them.
So so I feel like I answered that question without this document, because I looked at it earlier, but I didn't have it pulled up. But I do have it pulled up now. So you actually do have to unhide them, Mary Jo, to see what she was referring to. Because it goes from E to O, and if you click on both of them and unhide, they'll pop open. Honestly, you don't even have, well, on my version, you don't even have to unhide them. They'll pop open as soon as you double click. I just want to make sure that you have what you're looking for. Well, that we all have the revenue, just because it was a question or a concern brought up. So is everyone satisfied to look at the document and see that they can see those numbers?
So on the other one that they handed out, all of these were all hidden.
Okay. All right. Oh, goodness.
Is that a yes? I just want to make sure, so we can go to the next one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then it says, when the fire department large levy was passed, there was planned to be several $100,000 that were to be returned to the general fund. And the location of that, so I think the nature of the general fund is that it is one lump sum. It's built in that large lump sum. Are you
I should have worded it differently. I should have said, I don't see where it's decreased from the fire. How's that?
Okay. That's a more detailed question. Now I have to look to administration to answer that part of it.
Because I get how it could just,
Be one big
yeah.
mud pile or
Yep.
pile.
Probably what, I'll explain it a different way. When I began to prepare the budget, I wanted to make sure that the department heads had an appropriate percentage of the total budget. Fire department has stayed within their percentage of the general fund, so it was not an exact number. It was rather a percentage of what our total general fund is. So I can then understand why Ms. Zor might say that the number looks different, but it's definitely within the percentage of what we were calculating for their portion of the budget.
Has it decreased by the amount of the levy that a portion of the levy that they will receive?
Well, the portion of the levy the bulk of their revenue is coming from the levy. Remember, that's a 12 mil levy. That's about $1.5 million. If you take the 600,000, you're at about 2.1 total.
Okay.
But my question didn't even revolve anywhere. It took the levy, the levy was the catalyst for the question, but my question really revolved around general fund dollars. And I thought, I'm using my memory, that when the levy passed, the fire department was going to reduce their burden on the general fund, and some of that general fund money would come back. And I'm gonna guess at numbers, I thought they used to use like 800,000 out of the general fund, and now they were only going to use 600,000 out of the general fund. And those numbers probably are not accurate, but it was something to that.
In
Yes,
short, what it became was more like 100,000. Right, it was more like 100,000. But even that number, when he was using that, was based on what the present budget was at that particular time. And so the point that I'm making is that the budget, for example, our revenue numbers have changed, but the percentage of what they're using of the general fund can remain constant. Part of that is because we're actually more efficient, especially in the area of the police department. We've done the same thing. Their percentage is actually a little bit lower, and yet numerically, the dollar amount is about the same. So, long story short, they are both well within the percentages that I had set forth, and those percentages equal out to the dollars that you have on the budget.
but it would seem that if they were not using as much general fund money, that percentage would. Yes, thank you.
Well, I mean, again,
Not
it
stay
doesn't
the same.
necessarily need to decrease, is the point that I'm making.
So in 2023, you propose that the fire department use the same amount of general fund percentage in addition to their fire levy.
Correct.
Okay.
Because it comes out to about this, which is numerically, it's about the same 2.1 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
They're just.
I thought I was under the impression that when we passed the 12 mil levy, that they would no longer require any general funds, that they would not be totally independent, but they went from what, 3.8 to 12, so that's just not possible. There's still not, so there's not enough money in the new levy to make them totally, I wouldn't say independent, but, sustainable as a unit.
No, you're correct.
Because
You're
I
correct.
thought that was the idea and the plan.
The levy is about 1.5 million total that comes from real estate tax revenues. So the general fund is supplementing the remainder of that, which comes out to about when you put those things together, it's 2.1 million. And that's basically what we're using for the fire department.
So, okay, I'm so confused. So why, okay, so I understand that the fire department was not, the way that they were operating wasn't sustainable off of the amount that they were getting from the general fund, so they needed an increase of money, therefore we got the fire levy. But administration had originally presented to us that money would be taken, we would have more money in the general fund because it wasn't being put towards the fire department. So you're saying that is no longer accurate?
No, what I'm saying is I left the percentage the same, so the number that you actually see, the actual dollar number, is going to change, but it's not, it still equals out total. Once you put the levy money together plus that, it still remains at about $2.1 million.
But we're talking about just the general fund.
I know, that's what I'm
So
saying.
the
If you
amount of the
take
general
that-
fund they're taking, the percentage of the general fund that is going towards the fire department is the same as it was before the levy was passed.
No, actually, they took a little bit more before the levy passed.
So it's decreasing, but by how much?
Well, like I said, I gave you the specific number that I wanted them to use, which was the 17%.
Okay. And what was it before?
It was at about, I think it was 19. I have to go back and look at it.
So it's
but-
only decreasing by about 2%,
Correct.
even though it was like a very large, so, okay. And that budget was
They
proposed
use close
by.
to, let's put it this way, if you looked at it numerically, in 2020, 2020, I believe it is, and I could be, but they were at about $700,000 while we got through the end of the year.
I don't know what you mean.
In other words, by the time we had finished out the budget for the end of 2020, their total amount that the fire department expended was about $700,000.
Close to 8.
Okay.
Close to 8.
Okay.
And if you calculate 2%, the reduction from so let's just say hypothetically, and Mr. Mosby, do you mind following up with what the actual percentage was in the prior year?
Yeah, I mean, we can.
To that. And so let's just say hypothetically or pretentiously that it was 19% and we're moving to the 17% reduction this year. 2% on $1 million is $20,000. So that is several $1,000s. It just probably isn't seen as such a large lump sum of
Right.
scope.
It
I
was
mean-
just that it was proposed as more was supposed to be taken out. So that's where it's just frustrating because like we were told that something was going to happen and then it didn't. So, and this like amount of money, Chief Fells has stated that this is the amount of money that he needs.
Yeah, Madam Chair, could I ask Ms. Zorb, what was the number that you said we ended 2020 with?
It's right around 800.
Okay.
Just shy of 800,000.
And what is the number that we have proposed for 2023?
And I'm adding levy and general.
No, just look at what the general fund number is for the fire department for 2023.
Oh, that was 6. That was 600.
600 is about 50,000 less than the 700 that we had at the end of 2020?
Okay.
Is that correct?
Say that to me again.
The 627,000 that is being proposed for 2023 is less than the 700 and plus almost 800,000 that was actually used by the fire department in 2020?
So that number, that was the number I was used when I added the levy and the general fund. It was 600, it was 592 from the general fund in 2020.
Okay, so it was 592 from the general fund in 2020, correct?
Yes.
Okay. This year, so either way, this year, we were proposing that they have 627,000, right?
Yep.
Again, I don't have and I would prefer only to have the actual expenditure money from 2021 in there, and I'm just saying for me. But still, the point is, this is the first year, 2022 is the first year that we've seen the 12 mil levy pass. In fact, so we wouldn't have anything to compare it with from the previous year. So the 627,000 is once again based on what basically the percentage that we had used from, and I'm going to try to make sure I get this straight, the previous year based on the budget dollars, the budget revenue dollars that we had. So the overall budget percentage did not change for the fire department. I will say that.
I'm not hung up on the percentages,
Okay.
and I'm sorry, because when you look at 2021 actual and 2023 actual, because we don't have the 2022 actual, it's increased $200,000.
Yeah.
At a time when, in my mind, it should be decreasing, not increasing.
Okay, so you're saying in 2021, we only used $400,000?
Right.
And something.
Out of the
I know
general
that's-
fund.
I know that's not right.
Yeah, that's what it says. It says in
It says.
2020 actual was $527,109, and the 2021 actual was $427,042. And then your proposed for next year is $627,000.
Yeah, I do not believe that we went down, so there may be an adjustment for that. I'm just looking at her sheet.
I mean, the book should have closed, right, for 2021? That should
Aren't the
be-
books closed for 2021?
They are, that's correct.
So then that is the actual.
Unless she typed it in wrong. Like, that's what I think he's saying.
No,
There's
I
error.
don't think that was the case. That seems to be an anomaly, and we certainly did not have we didn't have the full levy in 2021, because that just started this year.
I'm so confused. What does the levy have to do with 2021?
What I was saying was that the 3.2 mil levy is a levy that was in effect
Right.
during that time. It wasn't the
Right, so you would think
larger
that we would
levy.
need more from the general fund in
Correct.
2021 than we would now, where you're taking 627,000 from the general fund, even though we have more money coming from a levy.
Again, council has the prerogative. This was a recommendation from administration based on what I've discussed with my department heads. That is, you're right, that is what I'm recommending. If council chooses to change it, we will change it. But that is the recommendation that I've put forth for the budget for 2023.
So does this amount of money match up with, like, this amount of money plus the levy, match up with what Chief Fells has proposed that he will need in his proposed budget for 2023?
And the answer to that is yes, it does. It helps us, it does several things. It makes sure that we're able to maintain the staffing level, which right now is at 11. It also incorporates in there the capital improvements that would be needed, as well as paying off the fire truck that we have already ordered that has not yet arrived.
So
So we will have to maintain all those.
So the 627,000 is going to be higher in 2023 than it would be in 2024 because we're having one-time expenses in 2023 that we may not have in the following years.
Well, I mean, we can't predict what's going to happen in 2024.
But is that what you're
I think the
saying?
answer to your question, though, is that you asked earlier, is emphatically yes. In other words, this keeps us on the total amount that would be needed for the fire department in order to make sure that we pay the salaries, to make sure that we make our capital requirements, which would include ambulance, fire ladder, and then also to make any additional necessary capital improvements. The big outlay was made earlier with the addition of the rooms that were needed up there, but it does account for future capital expenditures.
Okay, I want to make it clear. I want, if money needs to go to the fire department, they need this. I want it to go to them. But it just seems like that is a big jump. So that's why I'm just nervous that maybe it was a mistake, or maybe it doesn't actually line up with what Chief Fells has asked for. And that's where my concern is. If this is genuinely how much Chief Fells feels like he needs, and this fits along with the rest of what the department heads need as well, fine. But that's a big jump.
Where I think and as I said, Ms. Anderson, I think where the one area that I see is that was in the 2021 actual budget, that I don't think that number should not have gone down, because we spent more than that. So perhaps there is one that would be, there might be an adjustment in there that is not included, but we definitely spent more than $500,000 on the fire department from the general fund in 2021. I'll have to look at that.
Madam Chair.
Yes, just a second. So I was going to say a little bit of this is probably the distance between Chief Fell's presentation when he talked to us. He actually did send that to us in an electronic copy. We can actually go back and look at that and compare, because what I think Mr. Mosby is saying is, what I think Mr. Mosby is saying is that this is the administration's recommendation, we can compare that and decide if that is the recommendation that we want to go with to set this budget for 2023. And I think that that would be an important time to look at what Chief Fells recommended. That should be in our email. So that's the compare there. But my question is, with 2021, is 2021 accurate, or do you think that's a mistake?
I think that there are, I would say that that it doesn't look accurate to me from that.
Can we follow up on that?
We can. What I was going to say is, some of those numbers may be from, maybe the reason that was there is because some of the numbers were expended from the CARES Act as opposed to coming directly from the fire department. So when the CARES Act money came in, much of that money was expended, including salaries and benefits and the overtime, and that was all paid directly from the CARES Act fund. So it wasn't money that was added to the fire department. Instead, those funds, and we had to account for them separately. We had to report those funds to the Ohio Office of Budget and Management under the CARES Act requirement. So I guess put it another way, if we spent $150,000 on salaries for the police department, it would not have been an expenditure from the fire department. It would have been an expenditure from the CARES Act.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I do not think that we got the digital copy.
Chief Fells.
Yes, I think we just got
Came
the
from
paper.
someone else. I'm not figuring out who it is yet.
I've looked at emails from Ms. Vanderberg, from Ms. Dukestein, and from Chief Fells, and I haven't found any.
Were you on council when the fire levy?
The fire levy? I thought I was looking for the proposed budget from Chief Fells for 2023. That's what we were talking about.
That's what we're looking for.
That's not what I was talking about. I was talking about the.
Yeah, I
fire
was on
levy.
council when the fire levy passed. I couldn't.
Can you see if you can find his fire levy proposal?
Madam Chair.
I can look for that. I got you still. I can look for that. I am so far, like with my laptop, I can only open so many documents before I start getting confused and going back and forth. So I definitely will follow up. I have it in my notes to look for that document.
I'm forwarding
Blythe.
the fire thing to you.
Mr. Mobley, can you explain again, because I'm kind of confused. The fire department, it was at approximately 4 mills, and it went up to 12 mills. But at the time we were discussing mills, at that point, if you take 119,000 per mill times the 8 mil that it increased, that's about $952,000. Can you explain again how that money got, I hate to use the SLAY term, but sucked up, and then they still need another 600,000? How did that $952,000 that they were increased get absorbed in that manner to where I don't understand that, please.
Because they got more money than they really asked for, right?
Correct,
Remember,
but
'cause it
the
was a higher
question,
millage.
right, but the question is, well, it went from 119,000 per mill due to house values going up, then it went to 125,000 per mill. So the 952,000 is the lower of the number. So I'm trying to figure out what went with the money that was increased to the fire mill, and what is costing so much that we actually have to increase their reliance on the general fund from 500 to 600,000?
I think I have the answer.
Thank you.
I think I have the answer to what you were just asking, Ms. Blythe.
Okay.
Okay, so I just pulled up the fire department proposed budget. I have the paper copy out for 2023. Okay, so it's saying the appropriation that he has budgeted for 2022 for out of the general fund for salaries part-time was $614,739. And then they're requested for 2023 for the same line item, salaries, part-time, out of the general fund, 634,000. I see where that jump is. I mean, if you're needing to do part-time salaries for 614,000 in 2022, you're gonna have to put more. I mean, everything's going up in price, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't aware that 614,000 was being taken out of the general fund in 2022 for the fire department.
And I did just send that to you all, the document that Chief L sent to us.
The one that I was just
Yeah.
referencing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
He,
find his
and he
file
actually
letter?
has a PDF
I've
of
sent it to you.
2022 for the fire department, which I also sent, and then a working document, the breathing document for 2023.
I see it.
I think that's a really good question, and I think I think that Marjorie hit the nail on the head in terms of, you know, the rising costs, the part-time employment. He has that documented, so that's why I was saying to really hone in on the answer to Ms. Zorp's question, we would actually have to go back to his documentation and compare it to what Mr. Mosby and Ms. Vanderberg proposed, and to say that that is legitimately something that the fire department needs.
Yeah, I guess my confusion, like I said, was coming from the fact I did not know that we had already appropriated basically $600,000, basically the same amount in 2022. I was not aware of that. So I think that's where my confusion lies.
So we can move on to the next one. I feel like it's wise for us to look at that at home if you have any other questions on that particular matter, in comparison to what Chief Fells presented to us, what's in the proposed budget for 2023, then you can do that there, because so far now we have actually answered that question. Is everybody okay with moving forward so we can kind of move on?
Yeah, I'm trying to read this. That's the page that.
Yeah, that page is attached in here.
Yep.
That's right here.
See it. I see it there. Thank you.
Sorry, we're discussing the comparison of what was proposed in the original presentation for the fire levy versus what is happening now. So we're just comparing the previous fire levy presentation to the document today.
So
You can move on, I'll figure it out.
I was going to do that, but I think sometimes we take too many things to other spaces when this is actually our time to work through it. So, I mean, are you having any gaping concerns at this point? Or are you just kind of doing a checks and balance? Because if there are gaping concerns, then I want to deal with those here, because it's the appropriate space. But if not, then, you know, we can move on.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to share one other anecdote to hopefully maybe explain how prices and costs have changed even since I've been here. So when I first got here, one of the first projects that I had to do was was the fixing of the water mains on like Rob Verne and Diana. At that time, when that project was being done, we had to replace the fire hydrants. At that time, fire hydrants were probably costing about $2,000. If we went on the upper end, they might have been $2,200. Today, the minimum that we're having to pay for a fire hydrant is $3,000. So if you look on the lower end, that's a 50% increase from what we were paying just a couple of years ago. And on the upper end, obviously, it can be more. Actually, in some cases, it's doubled. COVID did something to our economic system that wasn't fully unprecedented, but it has had a dramatic impact on costs. It disrupted the supply line significantly. So we have longer wait times, and unfortunately, costs have increased. So we can't predict what the cost of an item is going to be at the point that we're going to have to buy it. So we either have to try to put some kind of a projection into the budget so that we make sure that we're able to, make our purchases. But I will say that we're going to consistently see those kind of costs increase across the board, whether it be for fire, police, public works, whatever. That's kind of the world that we're living in now. In fact, in a one street project that we were having, we actually had to withdraw we literally had to withdraw the RFP because the price had changed so much between the time it was estimated and the time it actually went out to bid that we had to literally scrap it, and then we had to rebid it out as two separate projects because we just wouldn't have been able to do it. So I only say that and offer that to council as just a way of hopefully understanding that right now we're in a place where costs are increasing pretty significantly. So
Well, and I think too, I mean, if we're talking specifically about this amount from the general fund, the line item says it's going to salaries part-time. And I mean, that makes sense. I mean, with COVID also has come kind of a workers' uprising in a good way, and in some ways we have to change along with it.
And when you look at what was proposed from administration versus what the fire general fund fire department requested, it's actually lower. They're giving them lower than what they asked. They asked for $634,000. They're giving them $627,000. I think the conversation is healthy. It led us in the right place. Right. It's legitimate, but I want to make sure that it is solved so we can move forward. So if you're okay, I'm okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. All righty. Moving on. The next question on there is there's no ending amount. Council by law cannot pass the budget if we do not know that it is a balanced budget. Basically, can we afford to the presented budget this year? I'm going to let administration take that. And Kirsten, can you elaborate, please?
So if you look at the second tab, if you look at the second tab on the bottom of the spreadsheet that I had sent you, and some of you printed it out, maybe, that will give you what the general fund is, what all of our revenue is, what it is expected for 2023. And it will tell you the balance forward from, that's 2021. I just put 12 of 21 and it changed it automatically in Excel to 22 of 872. That was what was being brought forward from 2021. And then our estimated.
I'm sorry, say that part again? What was brought forward?
The 262.63.
Where?
On the Excel spreadsheet, on the tab that said revenue, The first one said expense, the second one said revenue,
It says budget revenue
budget
2023.
revenue.
So if you click on that, you should see the balance forward from 12/2022, which
It's
is
21. Unfortunately, when I put 12 of 21, it automatically changed it to 22 in Excel for the current year.
Okay, thank you. So there was a forwarding balance from 21 of $872,262.63, giving our estimated general revenue fund in 2023, the number there, $4,616,788.41.
Can you back up a second? Where's that 800? Because I'm looking on her screen to see the electronic version versus my printed. Where did you see that 800,000 something?
It's at the bottom. There are four highlighted lines at the bottom there. And it says general fund, general fund, general fund, balance forward from 12/21. And she said it actually says 12/2022, but she said it auto corrected to 2022 when she when it saved, which is something that Google Docs does.
What, are we looking at,
Were you looking at the same document? Because
I
the
don't
one
think-
she's
I
bringing
don't
up
think
here
we
is
are.
not, doesn't have any of the stuff that you're
no,
saying.
It's the document that I sent you.
Just today? Just
And-
when did,
And tonight's,
When I sent out the agenda, it should say,
I think we're looking at is that the same as the document that
are you
that
talking
she
about
sent us
this
the other day?
document?
no.
Okay, because these are the 3 documents that you sent us for today, the agenda, this
There's a
document.
document even in my pack.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. She just emailed it to everyone. I'm sorry, I'm tired and I'm hungry, so
So
I
she
don't
just sent
mean
it.
to be grumpy, but
No, you're okay.
she just
I
sent
sent
it to
it.
everybody.
so I
like,
just refreshed and I
very
don't have it.
recently, like this evening,
I
like
heard
while we
all-
were sitting at this table.
Right, I heard all the computer blinking. I just refreshed and I
Actually-
don't see it.
That's because, okay, I sent it to you just now, but I also sent it to you at 1:17 p.m. today. It is embedded because when you send a Google Doc via Outlook, it comes as an embedded file, so you actually have to open up the email, and it was not printed and put in this packet. But furthermore, Erica is right. I did also send it while we were sitting here for a reference point again.
Madam
And I
Chair.
forwarded it.
One more reason why Outlook sucks, I'm just saying.
But if you go to that document
It's there.
and you click on the tab that
Yeah.
Mrs. Vanderberg is describing below,
Oh,
so here it is. If you look, I can put my computer up on here. Do you guys want me to
I'm
put my
just saying,
computer up on there?
I'm just saying, I just
Reason-
received,
reason number 567, Outlook sucks.
Can somebody?
Sorry.
okay.
I can,
Show
but
me how you found that.
Okay. I don't know that I can do that.
You
but
see the
I
one
will.
from 117, but I
Yeah,
don't see one.
I know that I'm hungry, so I am going to, so she sent it, okay. I don't know if I clicked on this 1:17 PM,
Okay, so if you're looking here,
8:11 maybe? No,
if you're looking here, just
We found
for, okay, so this is the document that I sent you
I
on
can't see
Monday.
that screen at all.
Okay, I'm sorry, can you turn that light out over there so she can kind of get it a little bit? Okay, if you look right here, I sent it here, here's the document right here. That's the only way that it will allow me to send it, but because I forwarded it in an email that we were sitting in tonight, in this particular document, it came as an actual attachment. It's just some funky little thing that Outlook does, and it probably does this because I have another Outlook on this particular computer. So
that's
here
not why
is-
it does it, because I don't, and, yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't.
But neither here nor there. This is the document that we're talking about. This is the general fund amount, and I corrected it because it did previously
You
say
have the 1 o'clock
12/2021.
Yeah.
12/2022. But this is but this is, what the amount that she's referring to. And then this is the amount that is the estimated revenue for 2023. Now, what I am saying that Ms. Vanderberg has been saying to us is this has always been here. And when I got this document that she sent us back in November, this second tab has always been here.
Well, I can tell you that that highlighted area at the bottom hasn't always been on this.
And that's fine. We asked her to revise it. I mean, but
Right.
the revenue has always been there.
Okay.
So is there any, what the next question on that sheet was? Okay, so are we on the end, so that ending balance, that also solves that?
No. Which number on here is the ending balance? I see a balancing forward.
Oh, mine says 170.
The balance forward, the
Is what we'll have
estimated
it-
revenue, the estimated expenses for 2023, and there's the ending balance. Is that it? No, that wouldn't be it.
That is.
Oh,
The
okay, sorry.
872, and the difference between the estimated revenue and expense, we were upside down by, I don't know, $40,000.
So, I'm sorry, because I wasn't, I didn't have this document in front of me
Thank you,
before when
ma'am.
you were explaining this. Is this the 12/20/21, is that where the date, the year changed?
Yes.
So this is the.
Because when I put in 12 of 21, Excel changed it to 2022 for the current year.
Okay, so where it says general fund balance forward from 12 slash,
2021.
that should be 2022.
No, 2021.
It does say
I-
2021.
It does say
She
12.
changed
I
it.
corrected it while
Okay.
we were sitting here.
Okay.
And honestly, in the future, either you or myself, Ms. Vanderberg, can we just do this? Can we just put these documents on the screen when we're talking through them? So, because I feel like it's almost impossible to follow these Excel spreadsheets, especially when they are multiple tabbed. I have a hard time at work. It is very much easier to follow it on a computer and a larger screen. It's just something that we're gonna need if we're gonna dig like this, and that's fine. We just need to be able to visually see it.
Well, Outlook is my hangup.
So I love Outlook, but
If you need the paper documents, do that, but tonight, we have had to put this on the big screen for us to be able to really see what she has been referring to.
Yeah, but can anybody really read that? Can you blow that up? I mean, I know you can,
So I have another question. So I'm still looking at this revenue sheet that,
the paper one.
yeah. So this $1 million at the end, so you're telling me that after we spend all this money in this proposed 2023 budget, we'll still have $1 million left over at the end of that, at the end of 2023, we'll have $1 million left over?
No, at the end of 2022.
No, at the
No?
end of 2023. It says right there, ending balance for 2023.
It-
At the end of 2022, we'll have almost 1,000. We'll have 872,000. That's at the end of
Okay.
2022.
Actually,
Nope. That's
Ms. Anderson,
2021.
that was the 872,000,
It's going to stand 2021.
yeah, is the balance as of December 31st, 2021.
So back to Ms. Zorb's original question, though. Again, after all of this money spent, we're going to have $1,000 left over. I mean, sorry, $1 million left over.
Well, if we spend exactly according to what that says, that's, yes, and we make we make absolutely no adjustments. Given all of that, yes, that would be the number.
Is that? I do not remember having that big of a balance in
No,
the
we've had
2022.
like $20,000 left over some years.
Yeah.
And that's part of the excess
we
of
had less
things
than
that
that.
we've experienced through the monies that we had, the extra monies that we had in the budget. and it is a very big gateway into the next thing that is on the agenda or on her list, Ms. Zorb's list. And we'll do this, and then we'll end, because we're not gonna accomplish much more. I don't know that that looks legible. Sorry. I can't actually blow that up any bigger. So the next thing is, by getting the temporary budget, it would allow time for the new hired city administrator to be intimately involved with the information contained and would not be handcuffed to the previous commitment. So we need to have a good discussion about that. Passing this 2023 proposed budget doesn't handcuff our new administrator to it. It is at council's disposal to, if we want to change this at any time. A temporary budget would only inundate a new city administrator who would not be familiar with our finances, would not be, it just is a very huge task to put on the headship of someone new coming in. Having an already proposed working budget that at any point, if that city administrator looked through and said, hey, this isn't working, I propose this, we are at liberty to make those changes. So I guess I want to hear the concerns as to why we can't focus on this 2023 proposed budget and get that to a working, breathing, living document for this year and pass that.
So I'll throw in my 2 cents because it was my question. So historically speaking, I mean, we'll take this year as an example. This council did not put any effort into making any modifications to the 2022 budget. So without, and I'm not even going to say that that is our neglect. I think we were not getting documents that were, I'll say analyzable. Is that even a word? We weren't getting documents that we could use to make a more informed decision. And I think, and I know we've been working on trying to get documents that are more suitable to our needs. And I know you've been working very diligently with the finance director to make that happen. But the other point that I want to make is there are, I can only speculate that there are items in here that were planned, thought of, dreamt of, that we don't know. If you recall, last year, we didn't know the impound lot was somewhere in the 2022 budget. We didn't find that until we dug down and started asking additional questions. We didn't know the street sweeper was hidden somewhere in the budget, and we didn't know anything about it.
I didn't know that there was money for city development put in there until I asked, why is there money for city development?
So
put
it's
there?
all of the, so there's
didn't
a
know
long
there were
list
two trucks
of,
purchased for public works.
yeah, there were 2 pickup trucks
Already-
working.
already
that-
in the past.
That
So
we didn't know
there are
about.
some things that are going to be in the proposed budget that
Can
we're.
may I please finish? I'm sorry.
Well, I didn't know you were not finished because
Oh, I-
Marjorie jumped in there and so did.
I know. I would still like to finish my thought, though. So with that said, there is probably a plan somewhere with the numbers that are in here. We don't know them because it doesn't get divulged to us. I will go out on a limb and say whoever fills the seat of the new city administrator wouldn't know what those plans were either, because it still wouldn't be divulged to them. And that's why I'm saying it would handcuff them. I think, and maybe the nuts and bolts of this, the new city administrator would want to replicate. I don't know that. But I feel like they should own that portion more than having it handed to them.
And I almost sometimes wish that we could have an executive session to go into these types of conversations, because I want you to use the knowledge that you have in your personal budgets, in your homes. I understand that this is not your home budget, but no one just takes on a city of this magnitude and then just starts from scratch. You can't reinvent the wheel. Even if the new city administrator comes in and evaluates and says and recommends through administratively, this is what we need to do, all of those areas are not going to be uncovered. And for example, you propose or put out there, hey, we didn't know that there was money in the budget for financial development. And I have been here that whole last year, and I remember that Mayor Nichols took the money that was out of her personal budget and offered it up for that. It was not actually given over for financial development, but because that was something that she felt like a personal priority for, that's what we did. We reallocated that money in a different way. And then as far as the impound lot, we just got the legislation approved to reallocate or bring resources over for that. So we took money from one other bucket to put it in there. We will be doing that. Erica or Miss Underwood brought that up. This is a living, breathing document. It's not set in stone. We will be able to change or navigate this. Furthermore, it is if it is our responsibility to do anything, it is our responsibility to make sure that the vision and plans of Mayor Nichols' council are facilitated and planned out in this budget. If you're not in agreement, vote it down.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
It is a living, breathing document, so living and so breathing that it all happens before we know about it. Then it's too late. Our job is to be financially responsible to our taxpayers. And I don't think that asking council to set this off for a few months, because it's been done in the past, where you can have until March to make your final decisions. If the new city, if that new he or she comes in and says, I glanced at it, it looks pretty good, we'll work month by month from that.
I have never seen someone come in as a successor in a business format, government, and then not take on the budget that the community that was existingly there set
So I'm
for the
going to ask you,
person.
how many times have you been involved with the council and a city government?
So, I mean,
I've been involved with it since 1991.
And so to answer that question, my experience and exposure is direct here with this budget, but it still doesn't have good groundwork in terms of how you make money roll and make it grow and do what it's supposed to do.
So I'm gonna back up Ms. Sukteen a little bit there. I mean, last year we had a new principal at our school. Didn't make a lot of changes in the budgets until this year, because he wanted to see how the community and how the school played out and how we existed before him. And I think that that's what this new city administrator would do as well. And I mean, in addition, like we said, they can change it as they need. If they decide, hey, we need X amount of money here instead of here, I mean, there are cleanup ordinances. I don't think any of us would absolutely love for them to do that, but I think that is something that they can do. I mean, I understand why you guys are saying that a temporary budget could possibly help this new city administrator coming in, but I don't see anything horribly, terribly wrong with this budget now that Ms. Orb's questions are all answered and now that those issues have all been cleared up. I don't see anything glaringly horrible with this budget where it can't be passed and where we would need to pass a temporary budget.
And I also believe
Gotten all
that.
the way through this budget either yet.
And we can continue to schedule the meetings to go all the way through this budget, but I also believe that then it falls on our stewardship and responsibility to look through this budget to make sure that we're on hyper alert to following or making sure that nothing is slipping through the cracks. That's our responsibility. That's our stewardship. That's what you're saying is our stewardship. So let's do that.
100%. But, so I'm going to tag along to what Ms. Dewald said. And I mean, a prime example is this document was from September. So, I mean, the numbers we're talking about are from September.
The document
December.
has been modified as of, when's the last time you updated the document? I know you sent it to me on December the 8th as a modified document.
So you're saying these year-to-date expenses are different?
Not the year-to-date expenses, but the
Right, so
budget
it's
itself,
from-
the
from-
2023 proposed budget, which is what we're focusing on approving. That's why you're saying that we want a temporary budget, because we wouldn't be able to approve the 2023 proposed budget. And every time that we've gave some, hey, we don't like this, we want to see it like this, Ms. Vanderberg has went away and presented us with a new document to try to get what our requests
But
are.
you just reconfigured the same numbers, so the numbers didn't necessarily change.
No, the numbers are not changing, but how we, utilize those numbers and put them in what buckets have changed to satisfy what our requests are. That's
So,
what,
Madam Chair, have we been informed of all the bucket changes that she's made?
she's
We have to
made.
go through that all over again to look at what changes have been made? Do we know what changes
She's made them per our requests.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question again. Do you know then what all the changes have been made?
I know the changes that we have talked about in the budget meetings, and I know that she has gone back. There are some, as we have talked about, like there were a couple of mistakes that I brought to her attention, that some of you brought to her attention. She's gone back and corrected those. I know that she's made the, just anything that we've talked about, she has gone back. That has been what I've been doing, looking at the document, making sure that the emails that I receive, I jot down notes in my thing. I am following up with her and Mr. Mosby and making sure that what we're getting is a revised copy of the things that we talked about in these meetings. That's what I have taken on as stewardship in my role, to make sure that this document is something that we feel good about and comfortable. So personally, if we've talked about it in these meetings, and I can recant my emails and my notes if that is necessary, I know that she has changed it in this document. And every time we get an update, our changes per this time together have been made on that, or else I don't send it back. I go back and I say, hey, but this isn't changed. We talked about this. We asked you for this. This isn't changed. And she will do that. Sometimes I'm not talking directly to her, I'm talking to Mr. Mosby.
Sure.
And then he gives her the directives, and then it comes back to us in a change document. I am owning that, and I'm looking back through those changes and making sure that she is making those changes. I will tell you that I missed the change on the 2021 thing. I changed the date. I didn't talk to her about it, but there was a date change. I changed another date earlier today. I looked at the document before I come to send it to you all to make sure that it is a document that we are happy about, or not happy, but we're feeling confident that this is a workable document.
Thank you.
So let me ask my question a little bit differently. Ms. Vandenberg, do you, through any of these revisions, have any of the dollar amounts changed? Or did they just get reconfigured within the document to line up accurately?
They were just reconfigured to line up in the way that you asked me to do.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is going to take probably, I feel like, 5 minutes to go through. I think it's necessary. And then we can end tonight, and then we can schedule another meeting and close out for tonight. This is a document that talks about the total net position of the city from 2017 through 2021, and then the general fund balance and where it ended out at those years. And I'm going to let Mr. Mosby explain to you this document that he had sent this to myself and Mayor, and I want him to just explain this document. I'm going to leave it up here, but I'm going to sit down. Or do you want to come up, or?
Do you care to print a copy of that for me?
Here,
I
it's
believe
already
you have a
printed
printed
out. It's
copy
on
in
it's
your,
pile.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you pointed out, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. What you see before you is the trend that has occurred over the last 5 years. I will preface this by saying that years 2017 through 2020 have already been audited, so 2021 has not yet been audited. But what you can see is, if we begin at 2017, you see our total net position, meaning the sum total of all of our cash assets was about 1.75 million, and we had a general fund balance of 326,000. In 2018, total net position had declined about $200,000, and the general fund balance had dropped to about $33,000 or $33,500. In 2019, there was a significant event that had happened. We had noticed that there was an out-of-balance situation that had been carried for several months. I'll just put it that way, several months, so that when we went through the audit, first thing we had to do was actually get the 2019 books finalized. I did hire an outside accountant. That person came in to do the reconciliations. That whole process took about 6 months. But when we got finished, we ended up at about $1 million total net position, and our general fund balance was actually in the red, close to $200,000. Beginning in 2020, we did, and I'll be very honest or practical here. COVID hit, which obviously was a devastating blow. However, we definitely did have CARES Act money, which is something that I explained earlier. And so as a result of that, the CARES Act funding was able to provide for many of our salaries for our police and fire, so that at the end of 2020, we had a balance, a total net balance, or a total cash position of 3.1 million and a general fund balance of 204,000. Finally, in the 2021, as we ended 2021, after all of our adjustments, we were at about 3.5 million plus a general fund balance of 872,000. Now, I will say that those numbers, as you all have just said before, those numbers constantly change. It's not, they change daily, but the 872,000, part of that was the Rescue Plan Act funding, and much of that funding is going toward Marshall Peter Dumley Memorial Park, which is close to $500,000 that's going to be going in there. So while the number does look healthy, some of that money is has already been committed. But I did want to make this statement and show that as of 2021, we're in a much stronger financial position right now, and this is also giving us the ability perhaps to do, and I heard the term capital spending, this gives us the ability to conduct or undertake certain major capital projects if council so sees fit. So I just wanted to give that summary to council.
And so I guess for me, I just want to build your confidence that we're trending in the right direction. And I'm not bothered by these conversations. I just want to make sure that we keep having them and we don't close up and go in a direction that is rogue of making these numbers, making these documents make sense to us so that they are working and breathing past this group of council members, that the next group of council members can pick up right where we left off and say, hey, these things make sense to us, setting some things in stone, but we have to continue working on it. We can't just sidebar and do this or do that. We have to continue to look at this budget presented, these numbers, how they're presented, and figure out how is it, and laying out a format to continue that we are able to decipher if this is a healthy budget. This, to me, was a further documentation where we could clearly see total net position and general fund at the end of those years and the healthy progression that we've had since 2017. So we're gaining footage. We're getting healthy financially. I was in another meeting with a guy from Fifth Third, like a city has a credit score. We're doing really well in that area as well. We're trending up. I mean, he lowballed us and said, this is where, but even in our lowballing, we're very, very healthy. So I guess I'm just trying to put out fires where people are feeling insecure about our 2023 proposed budget and that we are in complete control of how it gets spent. And on that note, when can you guys meet next so we can finish going through the budget?
I have no available nights this week.
I don't either. Because I was standing up here, I didn't have any dates where I was looking at my phone. Because I was standing up there, I didn't have any dates where I was looking at my phone for proposed dates. So
I'm not available until after Christmas.
Looks like my calendar as well.
So I'm going to ask this, because if we wait until after Christmas, we are absolutely handcuffing ourselves. We are. So is there any wiggle room on the temporary budget?
I don't understand what you mean by it's wiggle room.
Does anyone else feel like we should go with a temporary budget? Am I on an island here?
No, I'm on that island with you.
So, I mean, what happens if we don't pass a temporary budget, but we also don't pass this budget before the new year?
You don't give.
That's not even acceptable.
You cannot. First of all, you can. Sorry, we can. But the two results of that, I talked to Mayor about that. We would not give our city any ability to move or shift or do anything like it would affect payroll and benefits and everything.
Not if a
No money
temporary
to
is
make
passed.
payroll.
That is if a temporary is passed, but that's to say if we
And
don't
that's
pass, if we don't pass a temporary, if some of us don't pass a temporary and the others of us don't pass the final budget, we are giving our city, that is actually a reflection of council. Council should be hard pressed to figure out this budget to pass on to administration. That is the one thing that is our job.
I mean, I think we are hard pressed to
I
figure
do
it
think
out.
we are hard
I think
pressed.
we are hard pressed.
I agree. I do think that we are hard pressed, but I want you to really understand the weight of putting the temporary budget on a brand new person. Like, think about the learning curve that comes into whether you have prior experience or not. It still comes with the nuances of knowing what is pivotal for this city. Miss Zorb, you have sat in on the interviews and you have heard the candidates say to you, what would you do in the first 6 months? I would learn, build trust, understand what the nuances are. I would not be able to come in and do X, Y, or Z until I actually went through the process and the learning curve. Every candidate has said that.
But don't you think part of that learning curve would be building the budget?
I
mean,
do
that-
not think that you can
See, I see it,
digest.
I see it the
I
absolute
disagree.
flip of the way you see it.
I agree with you, Ms. Dukestein, and what you're saying entirely, but either way, it doesn't matter. We have to pass the temporary budget, because here's the thing. Yes, we are all hard pressed, but the realistic part of it is you also aren't available at any point this week either. And it's not just all of us. So, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. We are not going to be able to pass a proposed 2023 budget until after the new year, so we will need to pass a temporary budget.
you can't pass if what Ms. Zorba is asking, we can't pass a temporary budget without the new person being here. Because she wants the handwork of the new person on the temporary budget. And so
Well,
help.
no.
That's not
But help me understand this. What about the 2023 budget are we tied to that we cannot change? We are at total liberties to change anything about that document.
But because what you just said about the temporary budget is wrong, because I want to address
That's
that.
fine. That's fine. I will accept that what I said about the temporary budget is wrong. But what is wrong with the 2023 budget that we would not be able to legislatively change?
So
We don't know what's embedded in here.
Madam Chair, I discussed with the mayor who said passing a temporary budget might be the best thing.
I did not. I spoke with
I
Mayor.
spoke with her
and
about
she did
that.
not. She did not agree with that. I will stand on that. She did not.
I will stand
had
on
a
what I
conversation
said.
with her
Here we
also,
are
and
again.
she also said
I
she-
said, she said.
I have it in a text.
Either way, I mean, the mayor isn't on council. So either way, the hard truth of it is, okay, so let's say, like, we can't meet until after Christmas, fine. Whatever. Okay, so the next time we meet as a council where we could vote on this budget is the 19th, which is next week, and that's just not going to happen because right now we are not saying that we are sending this budget to council. So it really doesn't matter any of this conversation at all. What we need to do is send a temporary budget that we can pass to council, so that way we can get the rest of this conversation out in the proper manner of a committee meeting,
So-
and then come whenever this budget is ready in 2023, we can then pass it to take over the temporary budget, and we'd get rid of the temporary budget and put in this new proposed budget. But
Madam
first,
Chair.
we need to get a budget in, which is the temporary budget. That needs to happen.
Okay, so go ahead.
Probably no one will like this, but is there any time, for anyone, I'm gonna say like Sunday afternoon between 2 and 6, or is that impossible?
I could do Sunday afternoon.
We've had budget meetings on Sunday afternoons, if, I
So
don't
either,
know.
either way, so let's say we meet on Sunday, the next day is Monday, which is our council meeting. We're either going to have to send in the proposed budget of 2023 and then skip all the readings and then pass it, or we're going to have to send in a temporary budget for 2023, skip all the readings and pass it. Either way, we're still at the same spot.
I am not in a position to answer these questions. I'm sorry. I don't want to have side conversations, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I understand myself. I am exhausted. I've been in a trial all day today, arguing, interestingly enough, about money. And so I just need to take a step back and kind of compare and contrast. I know that I'm sure I have the documents. I just need to kind of think about it, not in a vacuum, not when I'm
Under
grumpy
pressure.
and tired and hungry.
Okay, so
Because-
let's just focus on, and I would like to have Mayor present, because me saying what I think she would have advised and you guys saying is different, and I don't know, I'm not at liberty to say what she said to you. I just can only say what I think I understood her to say. So can we please just focus on a time to meet? I think I could give you some time on Sunday. I don't want to, but I will. And I will, let's see, this is the 12th, the 13th, 14th, 15th. I could also potentially do some time on the 16th.
Well, so the 16th is our Christmas party at the evening, so that won't be available. And I have work during the day, so I can't come. So we would either do the 17th or the 18th. The 18th is Sunday. I can do Sunday.
I can do the 18th. I cannot do the 17th.
Any others on Sunday?
I can do Sunday.
You can do Sunday? Okay. Mary Jo, can you do Sunday?
I don't like it, but I can.
Erica, can you do Sunday?
I have a question. Why exactly are we disrupting everybody's Sunday? Like, are we doing a temporary budget, or are we actually trying to do the actual budget? Because we're in the weeds right now. We've
think
been
it
in the
kinda
weeds
depends
for
on you.
30
Which way are you
minutes.
leaning?
Oh my God, why is that on military time? Okay.
It's 9 p.m. It's 9:01.
And it's wrong.
So, but I think what Mary Jo's saying is it depends on you. I mean, if we're all
literally
fine with passing a
does.
temporary budget while we still discuss this 2023 budget, then we can just send that to council right now, and we can have it ready on Monday, and then we can continue to discuss this in our regular committee meetings. But if we would still like to aim towards passing this 2023 proposed budget and getting it on the docket for Monday and skipping the 3 readings and then passing it, then it sounds like people still have more to discuss and we need to meet before then.
Okay. I will come.
All right.
What time?
Can we say potentially right now from 4 to 6? And then I will, is that a feasible time for you all?
Can I see what time the Bengals play?
Yep.
I'm very
Play
sorry.
at 1.
Thank you. Then, yep, 4 works perfect.
Okay. Is 4 to 6 enough time? Because honestly, if we're just deciding temporary or 2023 proposed budget, I mean, like Ms. Anderson is saying, she is right. We're at an impasse. It just depends on what direction we want to go in, and then we'll go forward from there.
And you know what? Now that I rethink my answer,
No, it's not. It's at 4:25. The Bengals game
I was
is.
going to say, let me rethink that because I think it's at 4.
Yeah, you're a liar.
Okay.
So do we want to do the 2 o'clock meeting? Is that okay with everybody?
I don't know that my daughter's birthday party is the 17th to the 18th. It's a sleepover. I don't know that my kids will be cleared out by then, but I will come as soon as they are.
No more than 2 hours. I can't give all Sunday.
All right, my sister.
2 to 4?
2 to 4? Okay.
2 to 4, okay?
4 on Sunday, perfect.
Is that the 18th?
Yes, the 18th, yeah.
This is government at best. We will.
Ms. Clear, are you able to post that special meeting notice? Thank you.
We will close out our meeting, adjourn.
Are we to expect the finance director to be here?
I work on Sundays, my other job.
Okay.
I have to have 2.
Don't we all?
So I guess Mr. Mosby is equipped to. Mr. Mosby, are you able to be here?
I'm out of town. I'm out of town that weekend.
Nice.
And I know that, honestly, I know that Mayor has a lot on her plate. I know she told me that she talked to you, so I don't know that she'll be able to be here on Sunday or not.
Okay, how productive then are we going to be? I'm sorry,
I think
Madam Chair.
what we can do, I think a decision can be made, but this is just my 2 cents. I think you all can look at the documents that you have and comparatively to the budget. If you feel like, hey, there are glaring issues with this 2023 budget, then we need to just come here and say, hey, we need a temporary budget. If you all are thinking about this living, breathing document that we have the liberty to change at any point, and that is the way you're leaning, then we can come here and say we are going to go with the proposed 2023 budget and then go from there. I mean, either way, I think Ms. Anderson brought up a very valid point. We have to choose one way or the other. And so our recommendation that day, Mayor Nichols just texted and said, I'll come.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Ms. Vanderberg, do we have the latest document that you've worked on then?
Yes, ma'am.
We do have the very latest,
Yes.
even though she's made corrections to it.
She only corrected the date.
I only
Okay.
corrected the date. I didn't correct any.
Okay.
And I sent the corrected date to you all. So I could think that's the homework for you all in your own time to go through the budget, look at it with the other documents. If I have any documents that I can give you to help support your research, please reach out to me via email, and I will respond. But just shoot me a text as well. Sometimes I'm working and I don't see the email requests, and I'll make sure that if I have it in my email, you can get it. And then we'll plan to meet on Sunday, December the 18th at 2 p.m. And it should
supposedly be very quick.
Yes.
Okay, and just to be
I-
clear, this is a document that you have dated as September the 30th, 2022. That's the latest document I just printed off.
The proposed expenses are as of September 30th.
Correct.
May I ask one more question? So if we did request of you to create a temporary budget, how long would that take you to put together?
I'm sorry, I've not done a temporary budget before.
It's basically 1/4 of,
Right, you know, and just knowing that, I did talk to, you know, Ryan, he had some concerns about a temporary budget, just in the fact that sometimes in the front end of his budget is where he spends more of his money. And if it's a temporary budget, then he's not gonna be able to meet some of those expenses.
Also, just to hone in, I forgot that the auditor, Mr. Mosby spoke with the auditor, and he gave feedback, because we're preempting as a team what this would look like to go into have a temporary budget. The auditor heavily frowned upon it for us. I mean, if you're gonna take in the information, you need to take it in fully. Like, this is somebody that is beyond people sitting in this room and who have seen other cities, other governmental bodies put a temporary budget in place, and they are not thinking that that is a direction we should go in.
We've had a temporary budget before. I mean, in 20.
Whether we've had it or not, being the financial situation that we've been in, that is definitely what the auditor said. Am I wrong here?
No, but I would say, since you were saying, and you're talking about looking at the bigger picture, I would just also ask the council also consider that a cleanup appropriations adjustment does have to be done as well. And also, the finance manager must submit to the county the anticipated, the anticipated adjustments to the expected receipts and expenditures. So there are, in essence, 2 reports that have to be done before the end of the year that have to be submitted to the county
Madam Chair.
in addition.
Yes.
When do you think we'd expect to see the cleanup ordinance?
Hopefully in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. I mean, obviously, as soon as I can. Right now, I've got payroll this week. We've got 3 pays this month. And I'm closing November right now, just finished the 2nd payroll of the month. So,
the last
it's just-
scheduled council meeting is the 19th. Are you saying you will not have it by then?
What's today? The 12th. Very doubtful. Because we just told our vendors on the 9th that that was their last day for them to send in invoices. So we still have some that we're in the process of processing, not taking in new invoices.
All I ask is that if you're going to go one way or the other, is that you dig into the documents and really evaluate which way we need to go and make a healthy, wise decision. That's all I ask.
So let's be ready Sunday.
Let's adjourn at 9:09, and I'll see you guys Sunday. Thank you very much for tonight.
Right, I have sent you the minutes.